The human mind is capable of creating endless possibilities, provided we give it the freedom to explore. Carl Jung. For today's video, we will be talking a lot about creativity, but before we get into that, I turned 27 not that long ago, and on my birthday, it's given me some time to really reflect on how different life was compared to when I was 6, 7 years old, and now I'm 27. And I still remember being 6, sitting on the floor, drawing anything from the books I've read to the cartoons I've watched to the dreams that I used to have. And there's this one particular drawing that comes to mind of me holding hands with my parents, and we're outside of a single home surrounded by a tree on each side. So think of like a rural neighborhood or rural area, and we had a red car parked in the front. So for me during that time, and I think you guys can relate to this too, imagination, creativity, fun, and excitement used to flow through my mind on a daily basis, especially as like time would literally fly by, and every day it would be a new adventure, a new mental mind adventure that played like a movie as I drew whatever came to my mind onto my school notes and homework. I still remember like parts of my projects used to have stick figure doodles, especially when I was in the first grade and in second grade. I used to draw pictures of stick figures fighting each other. I used to draw like tanks and whatnot, and explosions and all that good stuff. The thing is, as children, we would have boundless amounts of creativity, naturally flowing, without judgment or fear. And I truly believe that this is the true freedom that many of us long for, and it comes from the joys of creative exploration. But now, if you're watching this, you're probably an adult, just like I am. Me specifically, 20 years, one parent divorce later, one college degree, 6 jobs later, I discover why everywhere I look I see the dull, robotic, and gray lives reflected upon the faces of my neighbors, my friends, and even the city workers. And if you really think about it, it's only because they all live the same life. They wake up 9 to 5, go home, shower, sleep, repeat until death. And somewhere along the way, our creative instincts were quashed, destroyed by external pressures. School made us prioritize memorization over exploration. Work rewards conformity over innovation. And society tells us that play and using our imagination, that it's for children. And now our creativity is pretty much buried under layers of fear and responsibility. Now, knowing this, I'm sure you guys can relate to it. I want you to tell me, when was the last time you've ever used creativity in the way that you wanted? Now, I'm not just talking about painting, drawing, or writing. More so I want you to see it this way, because creativity is in how we think, how we solve problems, how we find meaning in our lives. It's the antithesis to the meaninglessness that many of us are suffering from, myself included, here and there. Creativity is quite literally the key to rediscovering what it truly means to live. Now, before we get deeper into that, I want you to truly understand the forgotten importance of creativity. So before we get into that, we need to cover the following things. So there's a total of 4 things we need to cover. The first thing we need to cover is the psychological foundation of children and creativity. The second thing we're covering is the creativity crisis. The third thing we're covering is why flow and creativity matter in your 20s. Arguably, this is going to be the most crucial part to this entire video. And lastly, how to unlock flow and self-actualization. Now let's cover the first thing, the psychological foundation of children and creativity. Let me start off with a quote. A musician must make music. An artist must paint. A poet must write, if he is to be ultimately at peace with himself. What a man can be, he must be. This need we may call self-actualization. Abraham Maslow. Now, for anyone that's taken Psychology 101 or understands the basic principles of society or the basic principles of how humans live. You might have heard of Maslow or Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So it really, the whole point of that is to aim for what we call self-actualization or fulfilling purpose or potential. And that's exactly what self-actualization is. It could be defined as the inner potential, our life's purpose and meaning that many of us are searching for. Authenticity, creativity, purpose, and continuous growth are all a part of this. And to better understand where we are, let's go over what Maslow created, which is the hierarchy of needs. It's a theory that explains how our human behavior is driven by 5 levels of order. So the very first level, all the way at the bottom, so think of it as a pyramid. At the very bottom, we have physiological needs. Think of basic survival, such as food, water, sleep, shelter. On the second level above it is safety, security, stability, freedom from fear, such as financial stability, being healthy, having a safe environment. The third level on top is love and belonging, the emotional needs that we get from relationships, our friends, our family, and even the community. The fourth level is esteem, which is the need for respect, recognition, and self-worth, such as status, achievements, confidence. And all the way at the top, we have self-actualization, which is the fulfillment of one's potential and personal growth through purpose, creativity, and becoming the best versions of oneself. Whether it be consciously or unconsciously, all of us are constantly striving to reach this top level of self-actualization, which is discovering our purpose and reaching our true potential. And we all have different versions of it. Yours might be, I don't know, trying to end world hunger through spreading awareness in the form of paintings. For others, it might be trying to end poverty through world tours of music concerts. Mine is something that I've discovered about a few years ago. For me, I honestly just want to make this world a better, brighter, and safer place. And I'm saying that because growing up, I didn't have that. I didn't have a safe place. I wasn't like normal kids. I lived in a dangerous neighborhood. I wasn't able to play outside. I didn't have a chance to hang out with friends as a kid growing up just because my parents were doing their best to protect me from the outside world. Now, growing up, I understand that I'm older now, and I want my kids, not even just my kids, but I truly believe that everyone deserves to live in an environment that is extremely safe. Now, for me, in order to make the world into that safe space for everyone, I plan on doing so by educating my generation on how to become their best selves through the development of the mind and the self. Now, my idea of creativity that I enjoy, since that's the whole topic of this video, it's literally going to be about creativity, and I'll explain to you why it's so important, especially for us in our 20s. My idea of creativity that I enjoy comes in a form of writing, journaling, teaching, everything that I study about, psychology, whether it be through the videos, newsletters, courses, coaching, and webinars. And speaking of self-actualization, we were all closest to that point when we were children. Think about it this way. We had the first 3 levels covered. We had physiological needs, safety, love and belonging, all taken care of. Quite literally everything. And our parents made sure we had basic necessities. We were fed, we had food, we had water, we had somewhere to sleep. We had the love that we needed, especially during that time. We didn't really care about self-esteem. I mean, we were kids. No one gives a fuck about that, right? We're not really worried about, oh, am I the coolest kid in the class? So because of that, it enabled us to reach self-actualization, even if it was just temporary. We were always in the present moment, whether it was us through playing pretend, like playing house with our friends, or drawing, painting, playing music, anything that really required us to use our brain, our mind, and our imagination. And when we were doing that, it seemed as though time would fly by during our creative activities, almost as if we were in this state of flow. Now, you might have heard of flow state before, but I'll open this up with another quote. Flow is the optimal state of consciousness where we feel and perform our best. This was said by, I'm going to butcher this name, by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. I definitely butchered that name, but it's completely fine. As children, we were quite often in the flow state, which is a mental zone of optimal performance and deep engagement. We weren't really focused on the outcomes, the destinations, or really any certain purpose. We were just happy, painting, drawing, playing, and we were just fulfilled simply just by doing. Now, that's what self actualization really is. It's a state of doing through creativity. And as adults, it's a little bit different for us. And it's even a bit more difficult because now we've pretty much forgotten how to be creative, or how to think differently, how to use our minds differently, especially since society has ingrained this whole mindset of survival. Now we're in a state or in an act of doing when it comes to our day jobs and our day-to-day responsibilities. So I want you to think for a second. When we work our day jobs and we do our home chores and our daily responsibilities, right? And the time flies by and we all have those like busy days. We do enter this flow state, but we're exhausted and we're unhappy with the work that we've pretty much done. When we were children, we enter a flow state, but we were happy regardless of what results took place. Self-actualization is more about the process rather than reaching a certain destination. But in order for us to recreate a life of purpose, we need to intentionally create the right environment for us to rediscover flow. And after doing so, we need to find the activities that challenge us without it being overwhelming and also engaging our passions. But now I ask you, why do you think that we've lost this state of creativity as adults? What do you think has changed between now and then during childhood? So think like 20 years ago. Now let's talk about the second thing, the creativity crisis. When I was in high school, there used to be this super popular game, the super popular mobile game. I mean, especially among the Asian kids. I don't know anybody that has played this game before. There's a mobile game called Brave Frontier. Now, I remember drawing all these characters during class. So all the characters during Brave Frontier, I would literally be at home, be at school, I would draw them. And it got to a point where I would forget to hand in projects and homework. But to me, it was worth it because I drew hundreds of pictures for my friends and they were all happy and constantly asking me for new drawings. But the thing is, I didn't really care so much about anything at all. I just loved drawing. And me just enjoying the result was just like a plus for me. I loved what I did, and this is my version of creativity at the time during high school. This was my flow state, and it was my like mini version of self-actualization at the time. But then I graduated high school, and all I could really think about was what I needed to be doing after I graduated college. Now, coming from an Asian background and an Asian family, that's all Asian parents talk about. What are you doing once you graduate college? What job are you getting? Are you going to be a doctor? Are you going to be a lawyer? It has to be either one of those two. It has to be a higher tier successful job. Now, for me, I was afraid of what my parents would think if I told them that I didn't care what I did for work so long as it was just a simple desk job. And that's quite literally my life. I like simple. I like doing things that are simple, especially when it comes to survival. So unfortunately, having a prestigious career was expected for me. And it gets even worse. When I was 19, I drew my last picture. My best friend got it tattooed on his shoulder. And you guys probably can't see it, but that drawing right up there is the tattoo that I drew. I basically made that the last thing I've ever drawn. And I pretty much quit. Now, I quit because in college I didn't have the time. And the way I understood reality was that my drawings would not take care of me in the future. This was my turning point where I conformed to what society wanted of me. And a part of that is because I am a problem-averse person, or I don't like problems. I like avoiding them. So I eventually became another boring piece as an addition to the boring, dull, and gray population. I became a statistic. But I want you to think of this, because our 20s is when we build the foundation of who we'll be for the rest of our lives. How we think, how we feel, how we act is dependent on our freedom to create and express. But unfortunately, this is also the time when society has killed our creativity. This is also known as the creativity crisis. In 1968, I want to paint you guys this picture because this shit goes deep. In 1968, researchers George Land and Beth Jarman conducted a study to assess creativity across different age groups. Now, this test was developed for NASA. The whole goal of the research was to find innovative engineers and scientists. And the results looked a little something like this. There was a population tested of 1,600 children aged 3 to 5. Now, 98% of these children scored at the creative genius level. Now, these same children were tested when they were 10 years old. And at the age of 10, only 30% of them scored at the same creative genius level. 5 years later, when they were 15, the same population of 1,600, only 12% scored at the creative genius level. In a completely subsequent test of 280,000 adults, only 2% of them scored at the creative genius level. So you can see how fast the percentages just decreased as the ages went on. Creativity peaks during childhood and it declines as we age. And this is largely due to societal and educational constraints, but most people don't realize it until it's too late. And over time, having a lack of creativity, it's not just about living a monotonous life. Our sense of purpose starts to dwindle and erode, and we just feel like cogs in a machine, stuck in this endless cycle of work and other responsibilities. And this ultimately leads us to burnout, depression, and this sense that something is missing. And I'm sure that we've all felt that before. We're doing what we believe to be right. We work, take care of our families, take care of our friends, and it still feels like there's that missing piece. And that's the thing. When we stop being creative, we lose our sense of self, and we define our identity as this job title, as this income level, as a societal role. Yeah, I'm a healthcare worker. Yeah, I'm a lawyer. Yeah, I make 100K a year. Sure, I am the community leader. Yeah, I work as a pastor, or whatever the case is. That's how we define ourselves. So rather, we define ourselves as that instead of our talents, our dreams, and our passions. And decades from now, when you look back, are you going to be proud of the things that you've created? Or will the thought of what if become your new best friend? And that pretty much covers the creativity crisis. Now let's cover why flow and creativity matter in your 20s. I can only speak about this from personal experience, but during our 20s, we're at this unique crossroads. It's a time when our minds are quite literally primed for growth and curiosity reaches its peak. And it's also the phase of our life where we're making decisions that really define the trajectory of our future. Creativity and flow, which I'm going to get deeper into in a bit, these are essential tools for unlocking our full potential and really creating a life of fulfillment. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. When it comes to deciding what degree or what career to pursue or even what business to start, I know that for me, I did my research. I asked my friends, family, alumni, and other people with more experience than me for advice. I Googled potential outcomes and I was just gathering data from other sources. Well, for school, I didn't. I chose a major in psychology because my mom graduated with a psychology degree. But when it comes to decision making, especially for more serious life-changing events like careers, it really lies within our creativity or our ability to connect the dots, think unconventionally, and just imagine possibilities beyond what's already obvious. And I think at this moment, you kind of see the angle that I'm going at. Creativity, not so much in the painting, the drawing, and the singing, the playing music and stuff like that, more so in how we solve problems, how we think outside the box. Now, at the moment, I know that I made the right decision in majoring in psychology because now I see how it's present in many different careers and even businesses. The problem is, society and school has taught me that psychology only exists. And by me getting that degree, I'm only allowed to work in a job, such as being a therapist, being a counselor, or working in the human resources. I don't want to do that shit. But I found out by using my exploration and curiosity that came from my creative mind, I was able to see the world in a different view. I now know that psychology is more so than just working a desk job, because it's present in sales, marketing, client success, all which are major parts in starting a successful business. So creativity allows us to come up with this different solution or a different angle and perspective that leads us to creating a life we ultimately want to live. Now, for me, it wasn't working a 9 to 5, nothing wrong with a 9 to 5, but I really wanted to create a business that included my passions, my interests, and best of all, it's created around my life and not the other way around. Without creativity, we end up relying on this basic information that we get from society. And obviously, we know that it's most likely not going to give us that fulfilling life that you and I are really looking for. But now let me tell you why your 20s are the best time for creativity. Because here's the science behind it, and I'm going to try to make it as interesting as possible. In our 20s, and I'm speaking about this from a physiological standpoint, our brains are operating at peak performance, more specifically, peak fluid intelligence, which is the ability to think abstractly, solve new problems, and adapt to the unfamiliar. Now, this also means that we're naturally equipped to take in new info, to process it, and create new ideas faster than we ever will again in our lives. The catch is that if we don't actively use it, especially when we're in our late teens and early 20s, we are going to lose it. And not only that, when we grow older, fluid intelligence naturally declines. And it makes it harder for us to learn the new skills, adapt to the changes, especially with the way that this world is going. Like, technology is always evolving. And if we're unable to learn new skills and adapt to that change, we're going to be screwed for the long term. And now you can see this happen with our parents and our grandparents' generation. For me, whenever I try to teach my mom or my grandma how to use their iPhones and MacBooks, it takes them a while to catch on. And it was quite literally a nightmare for me to teach my grandma specifically how to access her list of contacts. You know what she does when she wants to call someone? She'll go through that little like call button thing where you get like your list of recently contacted, and then that's what she'll do. And if she can't find it, then she can't find it. She doesn't know how to go to her contacts list, and that is a nightmare for me to try to teach her. But anyways, their fluid intelligence has pretty much peaked, and it's harder for them to learn new ideas. Now, I'm not going to even get into the specifics of telling them about artificial intelligence. Now, anyway, fluid intelligence gets replaced by what is called crystallized intelligence. This is the knowledge, the habits, the skills that accumulate over time through experience. Crystallized intelligence is super powerful, but it's limited by the foundation that we've built in our younger years. And it's come as a result of our creativity and constantly engaging in flow. So if we spend our 20s strictly only consuming content and maintaining a rigid lifestyle, such as just conforming to what society wants us to do, just working a normal 9 to 5, or just sticking with a normal routine, whether it just be through besides the work, but just consuming social media, YouTube, Netflix, or even just going to school following orders, we will end up lacking the creative framework that builds our crystallized intelligence. Now, crystallized intelligence is also powerful in itself because it's part of the reason for why we get so good at doing certain things, why we get so good at specializing in certain jobs. It's why you see the mechanics fixing cars why they can do things so efficiently, so amazing. It's like, sweet, this guy can literally fix up my entire car because he's been doing this for over 20 years. This guy's a literal pro. This is how we get veterans. But the thing is, that crystallized intelligence would only serve someone so far, only if they spent their younger years using fluid intelligence, constantly learning, constantly creating, constantly doing new things over and over and over again. But let me take things even further, because let's talk about what happens if we don't engage in that creativity during this powerful time of fluid intelligence. Because the consequences, I'm going to tell you right now, there's so much more than just missed opportunities. We end up with rigid thinking. If we neglect creativity now, we're conditioning ourselves to the default same patterns of thought. It makes it harder to adapt to change or even innovation in the future. We end up stagnating in career and life because creativity isn't just about the art. It's about the problem solving, the decision making, and the building the fulfilling relationships. Without this, we end up risking both becoming stagnant, unmoving, both personally and professionally. Third, we have this erosion of purpose because creativity is deeply tied to our self-expression and fulfillment. Without it, our life ends up feeling repetitive, uninspiring, and just boring. We end up feeling like we're in this sense of just, going through with the motion. And then it gets harder for us. This is the next thing. We have difficulty competing in the modern day world, bro. Today's world demands innovation, and industries and careers are constantly evolving rapidly. I mean, I already brought up technology before, but those of us that can't think creatively and just adapt, we end up getting left behind. And finally, a loss of flow state. Without creativity, we lose access to flow. This is the state of deep engagement that brings us the joy, the mastery, and the productivity. And over time, life without flow feels boring as shit and unfulfilling. Now, I know that you've probably seen all these play out in the older generations. The resistance to the change of new ideas, the inability to adapt to constantly changing technologies, the frustration of modern challenges. Don't even get me started on fucking politics. You already know that this entire world is run by the older generation, by the boomers, by Generation X. These guys can't think new. And that's why I honestly believe, now, you know what, I don't even want to talk about politics right now. But the mindset of get a degree, get a job, and save up, it's not going to make us financially stable anymore. These people didn't build this habit of creativity and adaptability when they had the chance. They fucked up. These older guys, this older generation, they follow what they knew best from society, which is the safe route. And it was okay at a time, but in today's world where things are constantly evolving and changing, it's not good. Now that I've spoken about that, about why creativity is so fucking important, especially physiologically speaking, let's talk about the role of flow in creativity and its place there. So now we've spoken about the long-term consequences of not being creative. But now I need you to understand how flow goes hand in hand with creativity. So you've definitely experienced some of the flow state before, which is the state where time disappears, focus becomes razor sharp, ideas come easily, and everything just seems to just like click. Now, in our 20s, we're naturally more curious and willing to take risks, which are two key factors that make it easier for us to enter the flow. When we're in flow, we're not just creating, we're building mental resiliency, we're enhancing our problem solving skills, and we're further unlocking our inner potential. Now, the more time we spend in this flow state, the stronger our creative muscle. Now, for all of my third person, first person gamers, you're going to understand this next portion even deeper. So, I used to play PUBG Mobile on my phone. I didn't really play games at the time, so I was only able to fucking play on my phone, and I was too cheap to get a PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. So I used to play PUBG during my quarantine days of COVID-19. So 24 hours would literally fly by easily. I mean, we had nothing else to do. So I played from sunrise to sunrise again. And in a month, I ended up building a team with an online friend of mine from Aruba. We ended up becoming top 100 globally. And we joined this $2 million tournament as a result. Now, we didn't win, but I knew that my team and we were basically top 0.001% in terms of skill globally. My team got there by experimenting and strategizing different gameplay styles, from playing aggressively and playing passively, just mixing things up, mixing up different strategies. Being unconventional and thinking outside of the box is really what separated us from normal teams, and it places us within the top 100. But I could only imagine the possibilities had I used this time and this creativity and this skill on my career and business instead. If we ignore flow and creativity, it gets harder to access it later. I'm 27 now, and I can definitely notice it being slightly harder to think creatively, or it might just be the placebo effect being in my mind as I'm like creating this video at the moment. Now, I know for sure that I'll keep doing my best to remain creative to avoid ending up like those stubborn boomers that swear by the 9 to 5 and saving their way up to success. Without regular use, our ability to innovate and adapt, like I said before, leads to rigid thinking, refusal to learn new technology, and resistance to change, and just insisting on outdated methods. Now, I know creativity often relates to art, and it's valid to express it through that form, don't get me wrong, but I don't want you to limit yourself in this sort of box where creativity is only art. Because creativity is also in how we solve relationship conflicts, how we approach fitness goals, how we design a better morning routine, or even creating a unique business. It's how we adapt to this ever-changing world around us. So it's also how we find these new perspectives, and ultimately we end up creating a life that feels unique to us. So this is the best time for us to experiment without fear, to think beyond these safe methods and discover what truly makes us excited, what makes us feel alive. The decisions that we make now, if we fuel it by creativity and also flow, ends up shaping our future. Now, my question for you is, what the hell can you do now to engage in it? For me, it was creating a project. Now, that project for me was my purpose, studying psychology, making the world into a better place. And my way that I'm currently incorporating it into my daily life is simply by studying psychology, making it applicable, and then sharing it with people like you guys to improve, hopefully to improve your lives. And this is honestly what gets me excited. I don't know if you guys could tell, but this shit is what gets me fucking hyped. So in my opinion, yeah, sure, but I still think it's important. Go find your project. Go find what interests you, what would still benefit society and also yourself, and just simply build on top of it. And this is how we start to self-actualize. Now, this leads me to my next point. How to unlock flow and self-actualization. Now, I really think that it's fair to say that we're all working on creating a life of fulfillment and excitement, whether it be through traveling the world, retiring our parents, or just living lavish. Doesn't really matter. And there's nothing wrong with that. And in that life, there's a different version of us living that life. So think of it this way, right? Our current life is lived by us who we are today. Our future life is lived by a future version of us, right? And ideally that future version, the future of our life, is the life that we ideally want to live in. So the future version of ourselves didn't get there by following the societal norms. They mostly did something different from the average person, aka us, who we are today. They did something different. Now, the process to get from where we are today to where we are in the future, how to become a person that we are today to our future versions of ourselves, is called identity shifting. But I'm going to talk about that a completely different time from now, because it'll be too much to cover in one video. But creativity and flow, these are the tools that serve as the bridge between where we are now and our self-actualized future. But how do we purposely unlock flow to achieve self-actualization now? I want you to think back to a time where you were in the flow state. And for me, it was through playing video games. But maybe for you, it could be through playing sports, drawing, writing, or even in your business. What was currently present during that time that allowed you to access the flow state other than simply loving the process? So a few things should come to mind, such as this. And I'm going to make it as easy to understand as possible. I've actually broken it down into 3 different factors that should be present. Number 1 is clear goals. Flow thrives on purpose. Know what you're working towards, whether it's like a small task or even a big project. And the second thing is a challenge. Tasks that are too easy, it's boring. Tasks that are too hard creates frustration. So we got to find the sweet spot between both of these points. And the third thing is no distractions. We have to create this focused space where we can dive into our activity without any interruptions. So every time we enter the flow state, we're aligning our actions with our potential, and it brings us a step closer to self-actualizing. Now, this state isn't a destination, like I said before, but this is more so of a journey where we're taking creativity, focus, and effort to reveal this new version of us that is currently present in ourselves. I remember this time where This is back in the summer of 2023. I experienced one of the most intense but still fulfilling. It was a fulfilling period of my life, fulfilling period of flow in my life, and this felt purposeful. So I was invited to work with my mentor in person in his on his sales agency. Until this day, I don't know anyone that has mastered the pinnacle of peak performance and self-actualization in life, except for him, and I'm going to explain what I mean. So to keep it brief, his purpose was to help change the lives of a million men so that they become the best versions of themselves by helping them achieve financial success. Super original, I know, but this was his purpose. His vehicle of choice was through his sales agency, and this helped men land six-figure remote sales positions. Now, we only had 3 months together in which I could work with him because of visa issues. So this is actually in Finland, so I only had 3 months on a tourist visa. But this went extremely well because we had a clear goal, we had a challenge, we had 0 distractions. However, still one more thing I didn't mention, and it's strategic delusion, which can be defined as an unwavering belief in achieving what seems impossible. It's not about being reckless, it's about setting audacious goals and believing in your potential to figure out the how along the way. So I go deeper into this whole topic of strategic delusion in another video, how to become the top 1% in 3 months, but I'm going to briefly cover it through examples here. So we had a clear goal, which was to make $1 million in cash collected in 90 days. We had a challenge. So the most cash we've ever collected, rather the most cash he's ever collected in 90 days was $300K. And the challenge that we set was $1 million. Strategic delusion. My mentor and I have never made more than $1 million in cash in 90 days, but doing this as a 2-man team was unheard of. But for some fucking reason, he firmly believed that it was possible. And lastly, no distractions. Thanks to the maids and the workers that we hired, food, laundry, dishes, they were all taken care of. Digital environments were all like optimized. So social media was deleted, app blockers installed. Physical environments were taken care of because we had cleaning ladies. So I'm going to go deeper into all this in a bit. So the next 3 months, we were working 16 hours per day without feeling burnout. We were only focusing on the business itself. So I was given this opportunity to use my creativity through creating a completely new business from scratch. Now, I want to remind you for a second that every time we enter this flow state, we take a step closer to discovering our potential, right? So self-actualization isn't a destination, it's this continuous process of becoming. And the person that I became at the end of those 3 months was this new version of myself that I never discovered had I not. Like, I literally would never have known that I had the ability to be able to work 16 hours per day for 3 months straight. And I would have never found that out had I not gone through this intensive period of work. And for comparison, you could think of this like period of time as like a 3-month military boot camp. So you usually see like these like new recruits, they go from a completely like crazy transformation from fat, out of shape, undisciplined, kind of messy looking, right? And then they come out almost like an entirely different person. Like this guy's like fucking fit as shit, short hair, completely organized. And this is pretty much what happened to me in an entrepreneurial sense. But now I want to show you how to do the same thing for yourself. So I know that not everyone has access to a mentor or the resources that I had, but you can still create your own environment for flow and self-actualization simply by setting the 3 factors: a clear goal, a challenge, and no distractions. Now, these factors are universal. Anybody can literally use this, and you can tie it back to your own endeavors and your own projects, your own purpose. So starting out with a clear goal, you need to set something tangible and with a time frame. Simply stating that, oh, I want to become the best version of myself within 1 month, or I want to make as much money as possible within 3 months. Yo, like that shit's not going to work, okay? This is like the equivalent of shooting a fucking gun at a target that you can't even clearly see. We can do so much better than that. Goals such as saying, I want to make 10K per month within 30 days, or I want to lose 20 pounds within 90 days, or I want to get a girlfriend within 60 days. These are called clear goals. If you want to take it a step further, do what I call a vision creation, which is looking at the whole picture, the byproduct of life that comes as a result of accomplishing that one life-changing goal. So our vision becomes our compass, guiding our focus, our energy, while flow and creativity becomes our engine driving us forward, transforming our efforts into meaningful progress. So you can think about it this way. What comes as a result of you losing 20 pounds within 90 days? You have more energy. You feel better. How do people view you? Right? Are you able to, I don't know, fucking do a backflip? Whatever the case may be. Are you able to get a girlfriend as a result of losing that weight? Are you increasing your chances of job interviews because now you're more attractive? This is what becomes a part of your vision. So creating a vision, this really solves the whole issue of confusion, not knowing what you're chasing after, not knowing why you're pursuing your goal, not knowing how to get there. So if you need help with setting a goal, creating a vision, and this step-by-step plan of getting you there, consider checking out my free mini course in the description below. It's completely free. If not, then check out my other video, how to become the top 1% in 3 months. This is where I go deeper into the whole vision creation thing. So besides creating a vision, I had mentioned strategic delusion, which is the illogical belief in ourselves that we have the potential to accomplish goals that might seem impossible to others around us. When my mentor and I set the goal of $1 million in 90 days, I remember initially laughing at his face. I know I'm thinking back to it, it's just like disrespectful as shit, but I laughed at his face and I said, that's impossible. And to me it was. And even now saying it out loud, like, I'm going to make $1 million in 90 days, it sounds so fucking ballsy and even idiotic to me. But the thing is, you know, I looked at him in the face, I looked at him in the eyes, and I saw that he was dead serious about this goal. And I saw him as delusional because what he was trying to achieve seemed impossible, especially because, number one, we were a two-man team, and we're building a business completely from scratch, and we only have 90 days. Like, how the hell are we going to do that? But the thing is, I understood why he ended up setting what might seem to be an impossible goal to achieve. Because to make real progress on anything, we need to set the bar higher than what we believe we can achieve. So as humans, we often fall short of the goals we set. I don't know what it is. It's literally just human nature. So the thing is, it's like, if you'd be happy losing 10 pounds in 30 days, set the goal of losing 30 pounds instead. If you'd be satisfied making 5K a month, and I know many of us would be very happy just making 5K a month, don't do that. Set the goal of making 10K per month or even 20K a month. Because by doing so, we end up eventually getting there, right? We often fall short. Now, I want you to imagine this. When you close your eyes and you visualize reaching that goal, right? You visualize reaching that potentially life-changing goal. What feelings do you feel rushing through? Is it excitement? Is it motivation? Is it happiness? Is it fulfillment? Which is it? Because you feel great. And the thing is, there's a lot of power behind emotion, right? When we think of the good stuff, we feel great. We feel motivated. We want to take action. This is the power of strategic delusion. Now, the second part is the actual doing, right? You can visualize all you want. No amount of manifestation or woo-woo bullshit's going to get you the fucking 10K per month, that girl that you want, that ideal body weight you're trying to get to. The actual plan of getting there is what matters. Now, obviously, you've clearly never achieved this goal, right? So it's time for you to be creative. The regular way of doing everything that you've learned from your parents, your friends, your teachers in school, it's not going to cut it. It's not going to get you that 10K per month. It's not going to make you lose 30 pounds in 30 days. It's not going to get you to that finding that perfect wife or girlfriend. But the thing is, as you start using your creativity to find the right path to your goal, you start coming up with these like unconventional methods. So perhaps you're starting this extremely niche business focusing on doing lead generation for plumbers. Or maybe you're doing a combination of like this keto diet and intermittent fasting with meditation to rapidly lose weight. Like, who the fuck knows? Maybe you're trying something different. And the thing is, it's meant to sound crazy to other people because this is what creativity is, right? At times you might need to use what might sound delusional, like delusional methods to achieve delusional results. In order for you to get crazy. To achieve crazy, you got to be crazy. And at other times, it's not crazy because there's always someone else out there that's already accomplished this seemingly impossible goal of yours. Now, before I completely veer off topic, because I like to do this shit, I want to tie all this back into flow and self-actualization. So these unconventional methods of yours, right? They come as a result of your creativity. And because it's unknown territory and it's something that you chose, it becomes much easier to enter the flow state. And as we said earlier, flow thrives in the creative realm, on purpose and on risk. And this state of flow is where time flies. We work flawlessly and we seemingly have almost infinite energy as we start touching the boundaries of self-actualization like we did as children. Now, for the sake of making flow easier, we still got to talk about no distractions. So my mentor and I, we hired a chef and a cleaner to take care of basic necessities such as cooking food, shopping, groceries, laundry, washing dishes. So this saved us the time to put into our work, and also the mental bandwidth. We don't need to spend any energy thinking about that shit. Now, besides that, we also delete our social media if we really needed to be contacted. And I know I can already hear it in the voices of people and in the thoughts of people, like, oh wait, no social media, I gotta contact my friends. What about my family members? They all still need me. What about those funny stupid ass memes I gotta watch? Bro, like, here's the thing. Our families and our friends, they can reach us by phone. Like, we're a phone call away. Simple as that. Our smartphone had all stupid apps deleted and reorganized. And I mean, our main prioritization at that time was literally just to work ahead and ultimately the goal that we were trying to achieve, which is to make a meal in 90 days. Now, the thing is, you don't have to hire a chef or a cleaner, but you could do something similar. Like, just do daily maintenance. Opt for food deliveries instead of cooking. Or, bro, like, downgrade your life. Go live with your parents and have them cook for you. Because it's ultimately going to save you time on doing dishes and making food. Another thing, delete all social media unless it's truly necessary for work. Everything in this world right now, it's been designed to take our attention away from what truly matters to us. So now it's your turn. What's that tangible goal that you're going to set? What are you chasing after? How can you create an environment free of distractions? Because the thing is, we're trying to reach our goals through the power of creativity, flow, and ultimately reach self-actualization through the projects that we care about. And this is how we avoid this boring, gray, and this dull life imposed on us by society. So we've covered the creativity crisis. We've covered why creativity is so important in our 20s. We've covered how to unlock flow and hit self-actualization. And I really hope that you guys understand now that being creative and entering flow isn't a luxury that only children are allowed to have, or only the super wealthy are able to have. I want you to see them more as the necessary tools to build a meaningful life, to break free from societal norms, to be able to connect with our deeper selves, and to design a future that gets us excited. And now I encourage you to consider choosing a project that excites you, that is going to benefit you for your life, a project that gives you purpose and it allows you to be creative and ultimately just make your life better as a whole, make you into a better person. And if you don't know what that project looks like, or even like what to do or how to get there, then check out the Clarity Accelerator course down below to help you start with creating the foundations that you need. It's completely free. There's nothing there. It's a free course. So that being said, go set that life-changing and motivational goal, the one that's going to ultimately change your life. You should know which one it is, because you think about it, you get super excited. Go embrace the challenges. Go create something meaningful for yourself. Bro, it's time to change that dull, boring, gray life into a reality filled with purpose, creativity, flow, and fulfillment. And yeah, that's all for this video, guys. I'm going to see you on the next one. Peace.